Today's video is sponsored by wearing sunglasses in broad nighttime. Side effects may include broken lenses and unwarranted confidence. So a trailer just came out.
Johnny Cage, you have been chosen to fight.
Tell me you're not some crazy fans. How are you doing that? I'm an actor.
Are you shitting me? You don't have any pounds?
Just incredibly handsome.
Pause. That's the exact moment I knew Mortal Kombat 2 might be different, and why it might signal a tone shift in the second movie, and why I think Johnny Cage is the wild card this film franchise adaptation needed. First thing I love, so they first released a teaser trailer, and then they released the full trailer. Now most trailers wrap up a bit of a mini story, or they at least allude to the actual film itself in some way. The first little teaser with Johnny Cage wasn't really a mini story. It was more like they forgot to finish a sentence. They gave very little context, and I love that. The marketing campaign of both trailers. So first trailer, we started with something character focused. The teaser highlighted Johnny Cage. Second one was more the traditional trailer, answered some questions that the first one left us with. Once again, I'm just so used to seeing at least the majority of trailers kind of closing its own loop as far as here's where the characters are, here's what's happening and the stakes, and here's why you should care. But the teaser trailer was more like this. Here's where the characters are. All right, see ya. I was just here like, wait, what the fuck? What is this? I almost was like afraid it was like not real, you know? Uncaged Fury. So this marketing campaign leaned into Johnny Cage's hallmark 90s martial arts film cheesiness. It unapologetically celebrated his action star persona, embracing his roots from the video games and earlier films. But that first trailer, it left me asking some questions, such as, wait, is he the lead this time? Why did that rocket get shot downwards but end up going up, exploding the helicopter? Is the tone going to change? How much will other Mortal Kombat characters appear? Are we finally getting to the goddamn tournament? Is this going to be a comedy? And how did that rocket end up high when it was going low? Either way, it had self-aware humor, like Johnny Cage avenging his sunglasses, cheesy one-liners and all that. Now, one thing that threw me off though, I've been looking at Johnny Cage's face for decades. Pause. And he was inspired heavily by Jean-Claude Van Damme, from the martial arts superstar persona to like his face type even. And even to his iconically violently flexible groin. And Karl Urban has, well, the exact opposite face. And this is the first time I've seen someone play Johnny Cage who has less than 37% hit rate on the Jean-Claude Van Damme resemblance meter. Karl Urban looks less like Van Damme and more like he ate Van Damme for breakfast. But I thought, hey, whatever. It's just film. I could get used to it. Besides, I love Karl Urban and his other works. Wait. His other works. God damn it. The Boys. Dark satire. Ultra-violent and shocking content. Funny but with edge. Gritty and grounded despite the superpowers, emotionally complex. If Mortal Kombat 2 took even a few steps in that direction, I feel like I just know I'd love it. I'm sure I'd at least remember it after a couple years as opposed to the first Mortal Kombat. Now, while I don't expect MK2 to emulate The Boys' entire satirical or ultra-cynical tone, I think it's clearly using Karl Urban's knack for balancing that violence, high stakes, and sharp comedic timing. Speaking of how Karl Urban will change this film franchise, can you call it a franchise when there's only been one film? I don't know. Well, it's like a remake, right? I don't know. Anyway, talking about Karl Urban. This article from G2A.com, written by this lovely, beautiful human. So looky here, kids. Tone-wise, this isn't a one-off gag. Ed Boon, who's the guy who created Mortal Kombat, confirmed it himself that Johnny Cage is definitely the funniest guy in the film. Test screenings seem to back that up too. People who've seen early cuts says the sequel leans way harder. It's a comedy than the 2021 movie did. Some are even comparing its crowd pleaser energy to Avengers Endgame. Game. Boon's take, simple. He loves what they've done with it. In his words, these guys nailed it. Now, I don't know if Ed Boon's the type to just be very gracious and just say shit like this, or if he actually feels that way. But yes, he basically said it's going to be like Avengers Endgame. but rated R. And like probably many of you, I'm getting superhero fatigue. I'm tired. And with a lot of the same writers, the superhero film era we're in, I feel like I'm just hearing the same type jokes again and again, which I love for like a really long time, but it's just like, bro. So seeing another movie reminiscent of the Avengers Endgame does not necessarily excite me, besides the fact that, Endgame was one of the darker, more high stakes films out of that franchise. But what does excite me is that is combined with the fact that this is going to be rated R, and we can expect a generally darker Mortal Kombat world. There's strong evidence. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm going to use that sentence. There's strong evidence. There's strong evidence drawn both from the tone of the trailers and commentary from the creators that Urban's reputation from series like The Boys, where he played that quick-witted, irreverently funny, and frequently seen stealing Billy Butcher, directly informs what they're aiming for with Cage, and that is definitely something I'm here for. Remember 1992? Somewhere between the Mesozoic era and 2026, there was something called 1992. Aladdin just came out. MTV launched The Real World. Michael Jackson and Sir Mix-a-Lot were sharing the top charts. The Chicago Bulls won the NBA Finals. The Washington Reds, can I say that? They did not suck. And Mortal Kombat came out. Mortal Kombat was very unique. But why was it unique? Well, look at the other games at the time. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Super Mario Kart, Kirby's Dream Land. With a few exceptions like Wolfenstein 3D, most games were clearly made for kids. Something needed to occupy the children for hours without traumatizing them too much, so the adults could have a few moments of peace. But Mortal Kombat was clearly not made for kids. In fact, the mature content in Mortal Kombat was so controversial that it helped drive the creation of the ESRB rating system, which now labels games by appropriate age groups. When Mortal Kombat released, there was no clear distinction between games for kids and adults. The best case study of that is myself. I was a small child, years away still from discovering masturbation, and I was playing Mortal Kombat 2 uppercutting heads off of people's bodies. God only knows what kind of effect that had on my psyche. So anyway, yeah, the second trailer came out shortly after, confirmed some of the other characters and changes, and that it will center around the actual tournament. If you want a deep dive breakdown of the trailer, a lot of YouTube channels do that better than me. But speaking of that trailer, there has been casting changes. Welcome to godforsaken land called IGN. This is an article by these people: Matt Fowler, Jesse So new characters. Karl Urban as Johnny Cage. I'm probably not expecting them to ramp up the authenticity of some of the martial arts choreography. Assuming that Karl Urban is not a martial artist, they're probably going to use stunt doubles and a bunch of slick cuts that they'll splice together. Whatever, you can't have everything. So Urban tells IGN, we start him at a very low point. His career is completely in the dumps. He has no self-confidence. He has neglected his martial arts training. That is actually really good, because that is going to explain why he's probably going to look so shitty trying to fight. Then he gets called up to essentially be a warrior that represents Earthrealm and fight for the very future of humanity. And as I read the script, I found it just such a compelling, interesting, dynamic journey. We start this character in one place, and as an audience, get to see him evolve and grow. So we're going to get a katana played by Adeline Rudolph. Now, this was originally played in the 1995 movie by Talisa Soto. If you were alive in 1995, there's a strong chance Talisa was one of your first crushes. But anyway, that was then and this is now. The new chick, Adeline Rudolph. What a name, Adeline. Might be the first Adeline I've never met. She's a Hong Kong actress born in 1995. Okay, that's pretty dope. And what else was she in? Hellboy, Resident Evil, Chillin' Adventures of Sabrina. Alright, cool. So Jade. So someone else from Chillin' Adventures is Tati Gabrielle. Bada bing, put a face to the name. She's known for Uncharted, Kaleidoscope, The Last of Us, and The 100. Oh shit, we got Quan Chi in this joint. Aussie actor Damon Harriman, best known for twice portraying infamous cult leader Charles Manson. He does got a Charles Manson-esque look. And now he's playing Quan Chi. Holy shit. Is this what you call being typecast? Alright, so Martin Ford as Shao Kahn. Who is Martin Ford? I feel like you just have to catch the vibe of him, because you just be wearing a mask the whole time, right? Can't see your face anyway. Oh, this guy. Yo, I think I like this. I have no idea how he is as an actor, but I think I like this shit, bro. Hell yeah. Okay, so they got Desmond as Jared. I don't think I played the game where Jared became a thing. Anathu Win as Sindel. That should be pretty interesting. CJ Bloomfield as Baraka. CJ Bloomfield from Furiosa Mad Max Saga. So these are the heads that are coming back. Alright, cool. So this is the guy I'm worried about. Has anybody checked on him yet? He was supposed to be the guy, the main character, the starting QB. And now we basically told him he's going to be the backup. We brought in a vet. It didn't work out. And honestly, I don't even think it was his fault. I think it was just like great idea for his character, but wrong time. You know, some shit like this. But they liked him enough and they kept him on board. Obviously, they probably already kind of had the main concepts of the story already established and he was a part of it. But either way, good for him. He's still on board. I hope he's handling it gracefully. Oh, dope. Hiroyuki Sanada is still a Scorpion. I'll fuck with that. I hope they take advantage of like what a crazy dope actor he is a little bit more. I thought that was a pretty cool Sonya Blade. I ain't mad at it. Sticking with Jax, Woody Lin as Liu Kang. It's weird. I don't know. I visually, I don't know how I feel about him being Liu Kang. Like I see it and I also don't. But whatever. Like he's already in there and he did well. So fuck it. This motherfucker's still Kane. This motherfucker's still Raiden. This motherfucker's still Shang Tsung. Beyond. This guy was killed, but he's coming back. So he's probably coming back as like a bad guy or something. Anti-hero maybe. Cast looks exciting. I do feel having Karl Urban in there did do the roster some favors. Speaking of all this shit, let's talk about the director and the writers. Oh shit. Okay, it looks like Simon, the director of MK1 and 2, he did that Star Wars Rogue One, How the Rebels Saved Christmas official commercial 2016 Duracell.
All platoons on alert. Find those rebel scouts.
I love that. These kids are suffering from psychosis. And the doctor's just like, oh, isn't it cute? But anyway, I can't play the whole thing because I'm trying to avoid copyrights. So yes, the director, most known for just Mortal Kombat. So he's got a short film called The Stone Forest that came out 2013. He's got one called The Nighttime Economy in 2014. Okay, so holy shit. Mortal Kombat was his first feature directing debut. It looks like his trajectory was doing commercials and short film projects in the early 2010s before doing his first feature debut. It's really interesting. So I looked it up. Other directors took the same trajectory. Ridley Scott did UK commercials until finally making The Duelists and Alien. Michael Bay made commercials and music videos before making Bad Boys. We could be witnessing the beginning of a legend. You know, thinking about it, it makes sense. Starting in short form stuff like commercials and music videos, it requires visual storytelling and working under tight budgets and timelines. So that kind of makes sense. Speaking of budgets, damn. So the budget for the 2021 joint was 55 million. I don't even feel like that's a lot. And the second one is 68 million. So moderate increase. It might even be damn near the same in buying power when you account for inflation. Damn, I bet 69 million of that 68 million is going to Karl Urban. Yikes. But that's dope because if Karl took on a job, he didn't want no huge payday probably, right? So it's probably a project that he felt kind of excited about. He wanted to do it. Okay, on to the writers. Wait a second. The writers are different in the sequel compared to Mortal Kombat 1. No public information on why they decided to switch who's sitting in the seats for that. First one was written by Greg Russo and Dave Callahan. Greg Russo, responsible for the Netflix adaptation of Death Note 2, Saints Row movie adaptation, screenplay for film adaptation of Space Invaders. Okay, so I can see why you'd like this guy for film adaptations of that type of shit. It seems like that's a shtick. Dave Callahan created and wrote The Expendables, co-wrote Wonder Woman 1984, which I loved, lead screenwriter for Shang-Chi, which was pretty dope. Okay, so this is good stuff. It's like a dream roster for, you know, if you're trying to make Mortal Kombat 1, at least a dream roster on paper. So who's the writer for Mortal Kombat 2? Jeremy Slater, responsible for Godzilla and Kong, The New Empire, Death Note 1, ew, Moon Knight, dope. This guy seems to be a go-to guy if you're doing horror, superheroes, action, adventure, dark and offbeat, and it looks like James Gunn recruited him too to help shape the overarching storylines, tone, and direction for the DC Film Universe relaunch. Like the world building, character development, story guidelines type shit. That's interesting. So he seems to be about his business. So even though there's nothing online as of right now as to why he switched screenwriters, there's definitely criticism for the first Mortal Kombat, the 2021 first one, not the 1995 first one. A lot of people felt like the story, the characters, underdeveloped in the film, did not fully deliver on the tone, humor, or energy that's expected of the Mortal Kombat franchise. I barely even remember the 2021 Joel. Hold on. Been a few years, and it's one of those films that didn't really stick in my memory bank. So as I briefly recap this film, just so you know, that means that I'm going to be briefly recapping this film. So this is a minor spoiler warning. So skip ahead to whatever next section if you haven't seen the first one yet. I'm serious. I'm about to press play. About to press play right now. Oh yeah, started with old boy. He's one of my favorite actors. Although there was one film that I didn't love him in, and that was this one. Well, that's where $20 of the budget went. Special effects. It's very cool, slick, fun idea to get MMA involved into Mortal Kombat, because Mortal Kombat is brutal. It's not just Eastern martial arts, but it's very heavily Eastern martial arts. They got boxing, they got forearm grappling, they have magic. So in a way, it kind of was mixed martial arts. And mixed martial arts, IRL, kind of got away from the Eastern stuff. Although there's examples of really, really successful fighters who incorporate the dexterity of Taekwondo, defensive principles of Wing Chun. For the most part, you're going to see boxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, BJJ, etc., etc. This was a really cool idea to get MMA involved in this thing. But I don't know why it didn't hit the mark for so many people. Maybe timing? I felt like the MMA craze, once again, was probably half a decade before this movie came out. You know, this movie, it didn't feel as low budget as it actually was. It looked really good for the amount of money that went into it. You know, a movie had even less. The original 1995 Mortal Kombat film, that was my joint. $20 million budget for that one. Adjusting for inflation, that's I have no idea. I'm not a calculator. Honestly, it's probably about the same adjusted for inflation. But that movie, using all the technology available at the time, it was like kind of serious, but it wasn't taking itself too serious at the same time, if you know what I'm saying. It's a fun ride. It was a lot of fun ride type movies in the 90s. Oh, yes! Oh, man. Oh, do you see the bone? Can somebody confirm this for me? Kano was not originally an Aussie douchebag. He was originally a Japanese-American douchebag, but his nationality was retconned to Aussie after somebody else played him in a movie with the Aussie accent. This is something that's on the internet, so of course it must be true. But at the same time, it's something that's on the internet, so it might not be true.
From the Shaolin Order of Light.
Shaolin, they kicked him out because he refused to cut his hair.
There's much to look. Follow me.
He's very handsy. So, from what I'm gathering, in the sequel, Johnny Cage is going to replace his role in the group dynamic as far as being like kind of the douchey guy, while simultaneously the lens from which we're experiencing the story is going to move from this guy to Johnny Cage, is what I'm gathering.
The time has long passed. Our enemies have claimed 9 straight victories. One more victory, and Outward will gain control over Earth.
There's an NBA Finals meme in here somewhere. Oh yeah, I used to fuck with old boy right here. Yo, martial arts fights just don't feel the same when it's this many cuts in it. Not that everything has to be like a Jackie Chan fight where everybody really actually knows how to fight and it's just a wide shot of like the craziest shit. But you know, it just hits different.
Complete fucking asshole. He's a low-life piece of shit scumbag.
He's like what people think a New Yorker sounds like. It'll be dope if we could make like our own roster for this Mortal Kombat shit. Who would I put in the Earth Realm roster of warriors? I don't think there's a canonical number ever stated in the games or in the lore of how many people. I feel like you'd have to look at some MMA legends, champions, some random guy in Thailand, a polar bear. I always loved Jack so much, even though he was just very simple, like haymaking ass. I don't know why, I just resonated with him. Whoa, whoa, whoa! What is with this Coon Man? Yo, we gotta have a talk. Woo! Oh, I forgot to end it like that. So I'm eating pineapples now, so you might hear me do some ASMR shit into the mic. But okay, so yeah, this shit was always planned. Recasting. Comicbook.com. This article written by Cameron Bono. So Slater said we came in with certain guideposts that were already in place. The previous movie promised there was a tournament coming and that Johnny Cage was going to be part of the story somehow. Old boy was adamant that he had to have the tournament in this movie. Can't make people wait another movie and then be like, come back for the finale. It was finding a structure to make the tournament as satisfying as you want it to be. Because this had years of build up. It's figuring out who the individual matches are going to be, which characters do you pair off for maximum emotional impact, but also for the most dynamic fights. Okay, so he's thinking about all this shit. Slater recognized that a lot of kung fu and martial arts tournament movies have fight scenes interspersed with a lot of sitting around and waiting, killing time between stages. I was very cognizant of that. He said that we need to be telling a story on the margins where there is as much exciting shit happening outside the tournament as inside of the tournament. So you're never just sitting there bored, and both of these stories are moving the movie forward. It kind of reminds me of the like dual storyline split of Lord of the Rings, where the Fellowship split. Frodo went one way and everyone else went the other way. And the movie kind of went back and forth covering both sides. Okay, so he says Mortal Kombat 2 had the best stunt team in the business. The actors are phenomenal and it's so much funnier and bigger than the first movie. Okay. Asked if he takes the actors' own martial arts abilities into consideration while scripting those matchups, Slater says so much of the groundwork was laid by Simon and the casting that was done in the first movie, so he didn't even answer the question. He didn't even answer that motherfucker. Okay, they are actually world-class martial artists? Who's they? Who's he even talking? You talking about the stunt people? They are the best of the best and they can also act? Or is he talking about the actors? Okay. And they are really nice guys and embody their characters. It freed me up in the sense that I didn't have to go, this guy can fight, but he can't act. This guy can act, but he can't fight. There's a group that can do everything. It's really freeing. And so the fight choreography was left in the capable hands of fight coordinator Malay Kim, who choreographed Shang-Chi, and Michael Lair, who choreographed the Continental from the World of John Wick. Oh, dope. Oh, that's really cool. So in these two paragraphs, he basically explains that he was just letting his imagination go free on choreographing the shit, planning some of the shit out, and he'd be collaborating with the stunt team, and then they'd fire back with some crazy shit themselves, and some of their ideas was even bigger and crazier, and obviously possible because they're the ones who are going to be performing it and they know that they could pull it off. So by the end of the movie, he thought it was just like super epic, how they just pushed the boundaries of how crazy all the fights are going to be. So that's going to be interesting. I'm definitely going to be looking out for that. So Slater said he's a huge gamer and Mortal Kombat was one of those games where I had to beg my parents to buy me a Genesis. In the Genesis version, there's another version without blood, because I had the Genesis version. I didn't even know there was another version without blood. That's half the game. What the? Okay, so it just be sweat on the censored version. Damn. But yeah, this is a huge factor for me because he actually loves games and he actually was big on Mortal Kombat back in the day. So he actually cares about the IP. CBR, written by Sam Stone. They're no better shooters than commercial directors. They shoot more film than anybody. I've worked with Michael Bay, Ridley Scott, Tony Scott, Michael Mann, Simon West. List goes on. And when I say to you a Ridley Scott or Michael Bay film, you know what that looks like because they're not afraid of creating a style. So I'm not afraid of using commercial directors, having trained under Jerry. When I saw Simon's work, he's a great shooter. I didn't know too much about him. I knew he was an adult and a thoughtful, smart guy. And then I saw this Super Bowl spot where it was a Star Wars thing with these little kids running around through a Star Wars set. And there was action and lightsabers and you come out and it's a children's hospital. And just being able to tell a beautiful story like that in 30 seconds was more like a minute, but who's counting? Of these children being their own heroes and you find out that they're in a hospital. I tear up just thinking about it now. and someone who could be that thoughtful of the characters and that patient, I knew he could do this. He set out to make a movie that was epic and that didn't pander, that had a lot of scope and emotion to it, and I saw that in a number of his commercials. What does that mean? Didn't pander? Oh, so that's cool. So that job, that Super Bowl spot, it really did like help him get his big break, like half a decade later. MovieWeb.com, Christopher Schultz, expanding the female characters as one part of McCoy. I'm just calling McCoy. And screenwriter Jeremy Slater's plan to maximize everything in the sequel. So what they're trying to do with this sequel is obviously to build from where they were and then make it significantly more intense, bigger in scale, bigger in variation, bigger across the board really as a cinematic experience. Quoid also confirmed that there are plenty of new locales in which the characters fight, the sequel widening the epic scope and leaning far more into the lore in an effort to be bolder and swing harder. Yes, this is what we wanted. They're reported to have 27 fight scenes. That's one for every regret I had this month. Ooh, yo, imagine the fatalities. Ooh. So it's looking like this film is likely to be a course correction for the franchise. They're going to have an actual tournament. They're changing the protagonist and the tone. They're going to swing bigger and harder paws, restore higher stakes, have more direct connections to the games. Is this going to be a darker film than the 2021 joint? I don't know. After they said that Avengers Endgame shtick, I'm not really expecting it. Maybe it's going to be equal on the dark, but I definitely think it's going to be a more fun ride, leaning more into the Mortal Kombat world and lore, more entertaining, fun, engaging, and early screenings, drawing enthusiasm compared to the first one. That's encouraging. So if you're a Mortal Kombat fan or an action movie fan, I think this is something you should be paying attention to. But yeah, just woke up, saw this, felt like making a video on it. That's it. There's no after credit scenes. Go home, spread the word.